Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, days, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter. So, okay. I really wasn't going to even talk about this. I was going to save it for when I got on Twitch next month. By the way, quick update on that. My friend who is designing the stuff for the Twitch stream had some stuff happen in their personal life, so we're going to go ahead and basically delay the stream until August. So I will be hopping on Twitch still. It's still going to happen. I might be taking a small break from the actual podcast, so I might just be doing Twitch, but I'll keep you all updated on that, because I have a lot of stuff in the vault, as it's become known, that I want to get uploaded so y'all can hear. But all that aside, we got to talk about the strike. We really need to talk about the strike. So, as most of you probably know at this point, the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, and then the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, they are both currently striking. And the writers have been striking for, as of this recording, over 70 days, which is fucking wild to me. And the big thing that's really been driving me nuts about this are the misconceptions that I'm seeing online. Obviously, whenever anything comes out, there will always be some morons who go ahead and say the completely wrong thing and don't know what the hell they're talking about and are just parroting talking points they're hearing from whomever they go ahead and get their information from. So, unfortunately, it's always bound to happen. But I figured that as someone who's been doing this podcast for what will be 10 years next April, someone who really loves film and loves the medium and loves, the people, the players who go ahead and bring these writers' scripts to life, and loving to learn about the producers and directors and all of that, and everyone who assembles to become a part of this team to bring any sort of film to light. I really felt like it was important for me to use my voice and kind of talk about this and hopefully inform some people who, just don't know what the hell's going on, and hopefully educate some people who have some very wrong ideas on what is actually going on. So just for the record, to get this out of the way, because I can already hear people in the comments going, "Oh, you have a dog in this fight." So let me make this clear. As a content creator, I will always have content to review. There's so much shit that I want to watch and review for y'all that I just have not had a chance to. I still need to go through the next, 5 Scream movies. I haven't watched all the Scream films yet. Actually, I've seen 1 and 2. But I don't have reviews done for, 2 through 6. I haven't reviewed those yet. I haven't reviewed, the Shrek films. I haven't reviewed Warrior. Shout out to Nick over at the Afternoon Tune. Warrior is a great fucking show, by the way. I haven't reviewed season 3, I don't think, of Harley Quinn. So I'm behind on that. But I will never run out of content. There is always going to be content for people who do this and occupy, this space that I'm very lucky to be a part of. There will always be content for us to review, because there's never going to be content. Content will never run out, regardless of the strike. There will always be content around. But that's really not the point, because again, I don't have a dog in this fight, in the sense of I'm not a member of the Writers Guild of America. I'm not a SAG member. I'm just a content creator. A great one, might add, but a content creator nonetheless. And so when I see people going, well, this is all about, the actors being greedy and the writers being greedy, let's roll that back a little bit, because I really think that when people think about the Screen Actors Guild, they're thinking about people like Angelina Jolie, like Denzel, like Florence Pugh, people like that. Those A-list celebrities who are making, commandeering $20, $30, $40 million of film. Okay, yeah, do those people exist? Absolutely. But when you think about small time actors, when you think about people who are, struggling just to get short films financed, we're thinking about, people who are, directors who are just trying to get, short documentaries made. Not everything is a $200 million blockbuster, and I think that because of the era we're in, I mean, especially because we're in summer as well, I think people forget that, and I think that's absolutely insane that people have such a narrow view. Not every actor or actress is commandeering that much money. Some people are making, 100,000, or maybe even 5,000 if it's like a short film, or a couple $100. I mean, it's crazy. Like the salaries and the ranges of such are all over the place. So when you think about, and I do think that, again, a large part of it is because we have that Hollywood glamour associated with it, where we think everyone who works in Hollywood is making, a wage way beyond what you need to live, and that's not the case at all. Especially when it comes to writers. The writer on She-Hulk, who I want to make sure I got their name, Cody Ziegler, who has written for Futurama and Robot Chicken and Marvel Comics. He also, but he wrote the episode of Daredevil, or of She-Hulk, that brings Daredevil into the fold. And they went ahead and talked about the fact that they have made, I have the dollar amount here, $396 in residuals for writing that episode. Which, look, I dug the hell out of She-Hulk. The review's up on the channel, by the way. But the fact that that's a series that ran, 10 episodes? You make $396. That's damn near what I made for my quarterly bonus for my day job yesterday. I just got that confirmed. I think I made like 330. So I'm only about six, just under $70 short of what this guy is making for writing a show that is being streamed by millions of people, which is insane when you take the half step back and think about it. Since I'm talking about Disney, I need to talk about Bob Iger real quick, because Bob Iger, what he said on CNBC's Squawk Box a couple days ago on Thursday morning, pretty much in a nutshell highlights my giant problem with this whole strike in general. So let me read his quotes. I want to make sure I'm quoting him correctly, so I'm going to read all this exactly verbatim from what he said. "It's very disturbing to me. We've talked about disruptive forces on this business and all the challenges we're facing. The recovery from COVID, which is ongoing, it's not completely back. This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption. I understand any labor organization's desire to work on behalf of its members to get the most compensation and be compensated fairly based on the value that they deliver. We manage as an industry to negotiate a very good deal with the Directors Guild that reflects the value that the directors contribute to this great business. We wanted to do the same thing with the writers, and we'd like to do the same thing with the actors. There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic, and they are adding to the set of the challenge of the challenges that this business is already facing that is, quite frankly, very disruptive." All right, so I have talked about at length about, obviously my love of the MCU, but if you listen to the podcast for a decent amount of time, I will also take Disney to task, because I have friends that work or have worked at Disney, and I've heard about the conditions and what you have to go through. And straight up, the fact that Disneyland tickets, because I have Google up here, they start at $83, and I'm talking about just Disneyland, not Disney World. Disneyland tickets start at around $83 and can reach $179, and that fluctuates based on the day of the week and the time of the year and all that, so that's not even completely accurate, but just to give you, somewhat of a floor. And if you go ahead and do a quick Google search on what the average Disneyland employee makes, as of July 6th of this year, the average hourly pay for a Disneyland cast member in California is $13.83 an hour. Let me say that again. $13.83 an hour. For all the shit, for as big as that park is, that's what you're making. That's insane to me. So just off that alone, Bob Iger's a greedy asshole. So let's just start there with how he's paying his park employees. But then when you think about the fact that for all these Marvel projects, for all these Pixar projects, for all the things that Disney owns and has access to, if you don't have a script, you can't make these projects. Period. It stops there. If you don't have a script, you don't have Iron Man. And yes, I understand Iron Man, a large part of it was improv, but you're not always going to be lucky enough to have someone like Robert Downey Jr. and Jeff Bridges on film on set who are able to improv elements. You're not going to be lucky. You're not always going to be lucky enough to have someone like a Jon Favreau who's able to pull those pieces together. You need a fucking script at the fucking minimum, a fucking skeleton script, so you know where you're heading, so you're not just going into a $200 million project blind. Because we've seen what happens when those scripts aren't tight. Looking at you, Flash. But for Iger to say what he said is absolutely tone deaf. It's fucking vile, to be quite frank. And to pull up his salary here, what did he make last year? Let me see. So Iger made less in 2022, but that's because Chapek was the one in charge before Iger came back into the fold. But in 2021, Bob Iger made fucking $45.9 million. Are you fucking kidding me? That's insane. That's absurd. And when you think about what writers are making, writers are typically, if you just do a quick Google search on the history of Hollywood, you know how often and how underpaid writers have been for years, for decades. When we think back to the last strike, which was like, what was that, like 15 years ago, which is when you had Conan O'Brien doing all this weird shit, which was awesome. But that's really what led to the whole rise of reality TV, because you don't need, quote, writers, unquote, for reality TV. You can just throw a bunch of, hapless people into a very bad situation, or, throw on Temptation Island and go act, or just be yourselves. So that's why we have so much reality TV now, which is something the industry has never really recovered from, because my God, there's so many reality TV shows now. It's fucking absurd. It's fucking gross. And while I think it's an absolute fucking dumpster fire, I really would encourage y'all who aren't aware of what's going on, go on Twitter and just look up like one person I'll shout out here, just because I was on Twitter earlier, is a Derek Russo. He went ahead and you can find him on Twitter at DRusso97. He went ahead and worked on Loki. Doing some stunt work on there. And he talked about the fact that he's not getting residuals, the fact that he's getting minimum wage at points. I'm seeing here where he tweeted about how even on his most recent film, he was, quote, over scale, but that was only $200 a week over the minimum. These people aren't getting paid well, which just, again, the whole capitalism aspect of this is fucking disgusting. But going back to what I was saying about the writers, and a lot of people tend to forget, going back to the writers, is that not everyone is a member of the WGA, the Writers Guild of America. Some people are working non-union. So just to read here from Variety, a guild member for a writing producer, the minimum back in the 2019-2020 television season was $6,967 a week. In 2023 now, it's $8,184. But again, that's if you're part of the Writers Guild of America, which everyone isn't. But then the other portion that really isn't getting talked about, I don't think nearly enough, is that the whole strike, one of the big cruxes of it is the whole artificial intelligence aspect. And this is where I really get pissed off, because the amount of people who I've seen have this take, go woke, go broke. Well, if Hollywood wasn't trying to force their leftist agenda, why should they get paid? First off, It's your art. No matter what, you should get paid for it. It doesn't matter what I think of it or what you think of it. If you're putting time into writing an 80, 90, 100 page script, whether it's for, a summer blockbuster or a miniseries or what have you, if you've put in the work, you deserve to get paid fairly. Period. I cannot understand why this is such a hard concept for people to wrap their fucking heads around. You should get paid for the work you do. You wouldn't go ahead and redo someone's fucking yard and and then just tell, well, you believe in this, so I can't pay you. Like, that's fucking bullshit. Second off, the people who are saying, well, we haven't had great films in years. What the fuck are you talking about? Dungeons and Dragons came out this year. How to Blow Up a Pipeline came out this year. John Wick Chapter 4 came out this year. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out this year. Creed 3 came out this year. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, even though I'm not over the moon about it, damn good flick. That came out this year. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That came out this year. Fucking Spider-Verse came out this year. Trust me, there is plenty of great film out there. But at the same time, y'all, some of y'all need to learn how to actually do some research. And just fucking look on a best of list for people. There are so many best of lists on Letterboxd. Like, Letterboxd is a great resource to find some films that you just may not be familiar with. While I talk about myself, and my film, and I do my best to highlight, some films that just may not be on your radar, check out The Afternoon Tune. They do a great job over there. Shout out to Nick and Josh and Dusk, but they go ahead and do a great job over there. I mean, God, who else? Check out the Black Stubs. You can find the Black Stubs wherever you listen to stuff. Black Stubs are amazing. There are plenty of content creators out there and Letterboxd people that you can follow that will give you great films to watch. They're out there. You need to just learn to look. It's so simple. Just type in new releases in the Google. Like, do some research for yourself, people. But going back to the whole AI thing, one thing that really disturbs me is what Hollywood was proposing, which SAG went absolutely fucking not. But the Screen Actors Guild was saying that these actors who are striking are saying that Hollywood studios want to perpetually use AI-generated replicas of actors for one day's pay. So to break that down a little bit, basically you would go into a room, they would scan your likeness, and they would own it. And that would be it. So when you think about, and I'll just use this film as an example, when you think about something like Aquaman, where, when they're in Atlantis, there are, all those merd people and all those different species and what have you, where there are a lot of actors there that you obviously won't know or won't recognize, but they use those actors and actresses and fish people and all that to go ahead and fill the frame, so that it looks bigger and you see all the people and all and what have you. They used to be called extras, which admittedly is rather demeaning. So now the term that you see used more often than not are background actress or background actor, which admittedly does sound better. It makes you feel like you're a part of the team as opposed to using the term extra. And what's so crazy about that is that, so there's this little indie actor, you might have heard of him. His name is Brad Pitt. God, he's handsome. God, has he always been handsome? Anyways, my point. But his first acting gig was as a background actor. He was billed as a party goer / preppy guy at Fight in this 1987 film called Lesson Zero, right? So that's 1987. From 1987, he goes ahead and he does an episode of 21 Jump Street. He goes ahead and does an episode of Head in the Class. Oh my gosh, I remember Head in the Class. Does a couple episodes of Growing Pains. And then, of course, in 91, about 4 years later, he goes ahead and gets Thelma and Louise, right? Back in 87, if someone, if a Hollywood exec came up to Brad Pitt, was like, oh my gosh, like, you did a great job on Lesson Zero. we're going to go ahead and scan your likeness now, and we'll give you, let's just say, 10 grand, 20 grand. For someone who is getting peanuts and might be brand new to Los Angeles and might be brand new to, just the whole industry, 10,000 is going to sound like, oh my God, $10,000? Hell yeah. But if you go ahead and you sign your likeness over, what happens, 5 years from now when you're like, oh, I'm up for this major, role in a franchise, you know, over at Universal. Let's say Paramount were the people who paid for your likeness. Universal would go, oh shit, well, we can't actually sign you to this contract because Paramount owns your likeness. And just rinse and repeat that for any studio that you go to. So your Hollywood career is basically fucked before it even gets started. So just taking out the concept of AI writing scripts, because I will tell you right now, an AI written script, holy shit, that sounds like the worst fucking thing in the world. But the concept of seeing these lifeless, faceless versions of people who we know and respect, and just seeing them as background actors and actresses, not being able to actually hone their craft and move forward and do these projects as they see fit, that's insane to me. It's really no different than when, there are certain companies where, they might say you can't sign up a competitor for this certain amount of time, which is bullshit, by the way. You're a fucking person. You should be able to do whatever the hell you want once you leave that company. And so that alone, I cannot comprehend why people can't wrap their heads around why that's such a bad fucking idea, and why that alone should be a reason to fucking start striking. So for those of you who are just putting your head in the sand and don't want to hear this shit, fuck off. Honestly, fuck off. Because let's be real, Brad Pitt, if he stopped from selling his likeness, or stopped from doing films because he already sold his likeness, we don't get Meet Joe Black, we don't get Legends of the Fall, we don't get him in Interview with the Vampire, there's no Seven, there's no 12 Monkeys, there's no Fight Club, there's no Being John Malkovich, he is in that, don't forget. It's nuts to me. There's no Ocean's films, because let's be real, Brad Pitt's such a huge part of those. Like, why is that? That is an unfathomable thing for me to comprehend, that people would be okay with that. And to really just kind of put a exclamation point on this, my friend Chris Cox over at oneofus.net, he went ahead and shared something from a guy named Nick Jack Pappas, and I want to go ahead and read this word for word. Hi y'all, I write jokes for TV, but not long ago I was a financial analyst. For those who say Fran Drescher or any SAG AFTRA members should stop whining and appreciate what they have, let me give you a lesson in capitalism. The WGA and SAG AFTRA are dealing mainly with publicly traded companies that have fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. Netflix, for example, has 88.21% of their shares held by institutional investors, banks, hedge funds, insurance companies, etc. This morning, and this would have been yesterday, Netflix stock hit a 52-week high. They made institutional investors alone 106 plus $106 billion this year. 106 billion. Fran Drescher for her entire life is worth 25 million. It's easy to get mad at Ted Sarandos or David Zaslav or Bob Iger, but they get paid so much because their only job is to make rich people richer. The WGA and SAG AFTRA aren't fighting against rich CEOs. They're fighting against an entire system incentivized to exploit workers. A-list actors get paid so much because they're worth it. Someone has done the math. You don't have a poster of Bob Iger hanging in your room. You don't binge watch an entire show of Dave Zaslav. You don't go to Comic-Con to meet faceless billionaires. You pay to see stars. Not to mention that in reality, 87% of SAG AFTRA union members don't qualify for health insurance. How much do you have to make to qualify? $26,000 a year. These are working class people just like you. The wealthiest 1% hold 53% of all stocks. The top 10% hold 88.6% of all stocks. Every dollar these media companies don't give to a writer, they hand to billionaires and millionaires. When you say actors and writers are spoiled, you're on the wrong side of history. And that right there is the giant point right there. At the end of the day, I think we all want to be on the right side of history. But if you think that these billionaires are the ones that need to be propped up and need to be celebrated, you're fucking wrong. Which is why the Elon Musk Zuckerberg worship drives me insane. Seriously, these people aren't good. All right? So at the end of the day, and the last thing I'll say before I get out of here, I think COVID was terrible. COVID's still a thing, by the way. But lockdown was terrible for a lot of reasons. But if there's a positive that came out of COVID, I do believe it's that people are starting to finally realize what they're worth and what they're willing to put up with for the sake of a check. And at the end of the day, you deserve to be paid fairly for what you do. You really shouldn't. The fact that there are people who have to work 2 jobs is fucking absurd. Whether it's a teacher, pardon me, whether it's a teacher who Ubers at night, not something you should have to do. You should be paid well enough as a teacher to go ahead and live comfortably. If you're writing for one of these Disney Plus shows that's getting millions of viewing hours on it, you should be paid in your royalties and for your initial work fairly so that you can live comfortably, considering how much these actors and these CEOs and everything are making. And the fact that people don't understand that, that's not the problem of Hollywood, that's the problem of you and your ignorance. So yeah, I went way longer in this than I was intending to, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. But to everyone who is striking, I hope the strike doesn't last long. I hope you're able to get back to work. I hope that you are able to work this out and figure out what you deserve, and that you are paid and compensated the way you should be. And that these writers, man, I pray these writers are just pushed to the moon, and that they're looked upon as the true valuable pieces in this giant Hollywood machine that they are. Because without scripts, we don't have anything at the end of the day. So, and let me just say too, when VFX artists go on strike, because that is coming too. When you just Google quickly the working conditions on something like Across the Spider-Verse, you're gonna see that's coming next. And you know what, Hollywood, I've said it for years on the show, Hollywood has been long overdue for a reckoning. And so you know what, good. This has been long overdue, and I'm happy it's happening. It's finally happening now. But yeah, everyone, you can go ahead. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts, to name a few, at The Real Pineapple. Don't forget to like both our pages on Facebook at The Real Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. That is REEL Pineapple. Don't forget to follow yours truly on the Twitter, Instagram, and oh gosh, where else can you find me? TikTok at JHunter Real Pineapple. That again is REEL Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JHunter Real Pineapple. Like I said, I will be streaming starting next month in August, so I will keep y'all updated on when I will be streaming. I'm really excited to get into that. And then don't forget to follow the show on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe there. You can find us, just search The Real Pineapple. I'm almost caught up on our backlog. We've got quite a few things on the channel now, but our new releases are being uploaded there, as well as our old stuff. So soon I will be completely caught up, and everything will be on the YouTube channel as well. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll have reviews up soon for Barbie, an unauthorized biography. I'm really excited to bring that to y'all, and I have an interview that corresponds with it. I'm not going to see Oppenheimer in theaters because, to be quite frank, I'm still pissed off at Christopher Nolan for Tenet. So I'm going to wait until it comes out on digital. I will watch it at home. Plus, it's 3 hours, so I'm damn sure watching it at home. But I will have a review up for Barbie the week of the 28th, or the weekend of the 28th. I promised some friends I'd go see it with them, so gotta wait on that review for a little bit. But this upcoming week, we'll have reviews for The Starling Girl, which I'm really excited about. That is currently on Prime Video, so you should be able to record that. You should be able to rent that, buy it. I would highly recommend checking it out, but my full review will be up here soon this week, as well as a review for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part Uno. That will be live as well. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you soon.